Welcome, everybody, to Dojo Talks Candidates, our first episode where we talk about the Candidates Tournament. It won't be the last. We're going to talk about this Candidates Tournament more than once, as promised by Jesse and seconded by me. It takes 2 out of 3 sensei votes to pass a topic here in the dojo. So you're guaranteed to get another Dojo Talks Candidates before the thing is done. Maybe even before it starts. Who knows how many times we'll revisit this. And as you can see, we're going to be ranking the odds of the 8 presumptive qualifiers for the candidates. This is kind of assuming that Ding plays enough games to get that last rating spot that will be replacing Karyakin. But before we rank everybody, we just want to talk a little bit about this wrinkle to the candidates qualification process. We've talked about Karyakin getting banned. Now let's talk about Karyakin getting replaced for a moment. So my question to you guys is, let's say that Ding Liren, after a year of inactivity, suddenly plays 20 games against fellow Chinese grandmasters in 2 weeks' time and qualifies for the candidates off of a rating spot. How would you two feel about that?
So I guess it's a really strange question. I haven't had a lot of time to think about it because my first feeling was that, if the games are legitimate, then the games are legitimate, and who cares? And if the games aren't legitimate, or if there's any pressure in any kind of way, then that's obviously not fair. But then I don't know. I mean, that's it does kind of push players to try and bend the process a bit in terms of qualification, because people are now speculating, well, why can't X player now just play 30 games against someone else and just win and get the rating that way and so on. And I don't know. If people start doing that, we might have a very serious issue on our hands. So it is worth talking about, and I'm honestly not really sure how I feel. So let me ask Jesse.
Hallmark of a reasonable person. He's not sure. He wants to hear some more information. What do you think, Jess?
Okay, so first let's just back up. Last week we talked about Karyakin getting banned. This has then opened the door to the regulations, which no one had read before because normally they don't pertain. The regulations saying that the next person, if that happened, if they need an emergency replacement, the next person by rating would get in. That person, however, needs to be active on the active list. And we got to say, one of the greatest mysteries of the last couple years of COVID time has been, Ding, buddy, you're one of the greatest players. You're definitely the greatest Chinese player ever. One of the greatest talents the world has ever seen, in addition. Why haven't you been playing? A lot of chess fans don't really know. A lot of chess fans, way before this thing went down, were like, wait a second, where's Ding? Since the last candidates tournament, basically played nothing. Nothing. And so in addition to just the weirdness of it, it's like, well, dude, how do you expect to be playing at the top level without playing? And there's speculation maybe it was hard to travel for him because of the Chinese stringent COVID laws and stuff. But obviously he could play within the country as he's doing now. Okay, so that's the weird thing.
Yeah.
Does anybody understand that? I don't think they do. I did some scrolling around on the internet. I couldn't really get clear answers about why Ding.
Well, let me
go ahead.
Let me clarify a little bit. I think it's not clear if it was COVID restrictions from China or something with FIDE. There were some very vague statements from FIDE saying they tried everything they could to get Ding to play, but it just wasn't possible. So it was never really made clear who exactly forbid him from traveling/playing. But he did play in online events like Everything's Masters and the Chess24 events. He played in several of those.
True.
So
yeah.
Not really fair to say he hasn't been playing at all.
Right. And so actually what Kostya is referencing is, so he hadn't played a big over the board event. What Kostya is referencing is the Grand Prix, which just qualified Nakamura.
No. I was talking about the Chess24 online events.
No, but what you were also
referenced
saying,
both.
You referenced the fact that he didn't play in the Grand Prix.
Yeah,
right.
he didn't play.
It was like we tried to get him to the Grand Prix.
Well, he didn't play in any of the qualifiers, so the World Cup, the Grand Swiss, or the Grand Prix.
Right. He was scheduled to play in the Grand Prix and then basically didn't show up, right?
Yeah.
So that was weird. Weird. And my own personal take as a fan is that he got injured in a bike accident ages ago, pre-COVID, and then it's kind of, I don't know, something's going on.
Right. You don't know if it was COVID or the broken leg. And as somebody pointed out, as Seth pointed out in chat, right? I mean, Yu Yangyi played in the Grand Prix. So it's not like no Chinese player has been able to travel or go to any tournament. So here's their number one guy. Where is he? I think it's a mystery.
Right. And then we just have then the moral question, which I guess I did doing a long-winded response to, was, is it cool for him to be playing his fellow people who might be throwing games or might be going easy on him to play? I think he has to play 30 games to get back on the active list. And within those 30 games, he can't drop so many points that he loses his spot by rating, this new rating thing. And we will say it's very suspicious. And let me put it this way. I don't think Ding would, if the games are being tossed or if they're going soft on him, Ding wouldn't know himself. So you can't blame Ding if we come to the conclusion that a lot of these games are being thrown to him. Okay, we can't blame him. It would be, though, either pressure on his fellow Chinese players to go easy on him, or just the psychological factor where you're like, well, we want our guy to play.
Yeah.
So me losing a game or two extra to him isn't a big deal.
Yeah. I think it's extreme to say like, oh, the games are definitely being thrown, but at the very least, like, they're not idiots. They understand that if they draw their games, he's going to lose rating. He might not then qualify. I mean, I don't know exactly
win their games.
What the math is, but yeah, just like, so there is this pressure that, they don't actually want to beat him. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, if you imagine Kostya playing a match against Jesse of like 12 games, and he needs to get through that match to qualify for the U.S. Senior Championship, he just needs those 12 games to be played, but he can't lose more than like 2 rating points or something like that, or some other dude's going to pass him. And you have to play those 12 games against somebody that, sort of like on your team in a way. Yeah. It's tough to really like psych yourself up to crush the guy, right?
No, I mean, I would first of all need huge convincing just to play the match, because for me it would just be like huge conflict of interest.
Yeah.
And then even if I did, during the match, I would feel bad about winning games. And as a result, even if I was trying to win, I think I would just play worse just because of the situation. So
I've once been in a situation a little bit like that. Maybe I was playing against John Donaldson in the last round of a tournament, and he was playing for a GM norm. And that's even much less than all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I wasn't going to be happy if I won the game.
But did he need a win or a draw?
Yeah, he needed to win the game.
In the last round.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I wouldn't have let him through. You let him through, boss? Did you let him through?
He beat me.
You let him through? You're a gatekeeper, my friend. You don't just let a guy through. Yes, sir.
I understand. It's very important. But I was also younger, Jesse, and it was like harder to like get your head right for every situation, right? It's not like I threw the game. Like, I played my best that day, which sucked. Like, I lost so badly, and maybe he would have beaten me no matter what, but it was really a lame effort.
No, but that's fine. Okay, if the guy needs to win, I think no one's going to ask you to throw the game. But if he needed a draw, then I think that's kind of tough.
I mean, I wouldn't take a draw. I would play the game. But I'm just saying, like, I felt that I played worse, right? So I'm just saying, like, in this kind of situation, even if everyone's above board, there's an element where you might just be playing worse. That's my closest experience. They'll be like that, where it's like you don't have your normal full motivation in a way.
I would give him the draw, honestly.
What is a draw though? You had to win.
I think it's hard to get norms, and so if I can help people get norms, I'm all for it.
No. Let me tell you, Kostya. Once you become a GM, you're out to never let anybody else.
Nobody else.
Once I become a GM, sure.
Nobody else did. Nobody.
No, but until then, I'm fighting FIDE until then.
Nobody else comes through, my friend. I'm especially motivated in that circumstance.
All right, so topic for another day: helping hand or gatekeepers. But
let me ask you the question, though. Back to this thing. I want to say, as a fan, even though this whole thing looks dubious, I just want to backtrack and say, originally in candidates tournaments of years gone by, the tradition was that the top 2 rated people who weren't already qualified would get in. And I thought that was fair. I did always think that was a good thing to have in there, just to guarantee that the level was very high. So if we had applied the old standard, then he would have gotten in. And you know who else would have gotten in? Aronian would have gotten in. Aronian is now out. It's a real bummer for Aronian fans because the guy really is at the end of his career in terms of being able to fight at this level. He's getting on to 40. He's getting out there, right? So from that perspective, as dubious as this looks, I don't have that much trouble with it. And I definitely wanted Ding. I definitely want to see Ding in this event. I think the guy has to be there to give the whole thing credibility. And we'll talk about where we think he's going to place in a second. But I'm, as a fan, as dubious as this whole process looks, as a fan, I'm happy that he is there.
Yeah. So I think that this system is like completely not okay. And I suspect that a lot of people are okay with it in this instance. That my emotional reaction at first was like, cool, Ding, I think it's basically, it's sort of case by case rather than structurally correct, right? So basically on a case by case basis, I think most people suspect that the Ding mystery is some form of a Ding tragedy, right? Like there's something wrong. He should, that's keeping him from playing. It's a sad thing. It's not his fault, et cetera. We assume it's something like that, right? And we'd love to see him play. So there's that. So everybody's like, oh, Ding, yeah, like he deserves it. He's been having a tough time, right? Like he hasn't been getting to play chess. And then secondarily, you've got a big rating gap between Ding and the next person, right? But remember, it's not just about playing 30 games. It's got to be who has the highest rating at the end of April, I think, right? On the May list. So let's say Ding's rating were only 5 points ahead of Aronian's, or 5 points ahead of, Wesley
Right.
So and Mamedyarov or something like that, right? Let's say he were, instead of 20 or 30 points ahead, he were like 3 points ahead, 5 points ahead. And then suddenly he's playing a tournament against only compatriots.
It
right?
doesn't look good.
It would be beyond bad. Right now, people are like, yeah, he could lose a game or two. He would still qualify by rating, whatever, let him coast through. But you have to have a system in place that would make sense for different scenarios, right? If you're ahead by 5, if you're down by 5, what if you were 5 points behind Aronian and then, beat all these compatriots? And I would point out this: to get a title norm, you need to play people from another country. Just to get an IM norm, you got to play people from a few other countries, not because everyone cheats. None of my argument has anything to do with saying that Ding would cheat, but because you can't have that possibility. You can't have that question around it. Right. And so if you can't get a norm playing your countrymen, how can you play in the world championship off of only playing your countrymen? It's not a real tournament on a real calendar with like people from multiple federations. To me, it's barely a tournament. It's just like a setup. And I don't think that's correct for deciding who's in the World Championship Candidates tournament, even though basically everyone's going to be happy to see him in there. Everyone's going to be happy with the result, let's say, or most people are going to be happy with the results. I'll be happy to see him in that tournament. But I disagree with the process. I think it's absolutely wrong.
Yeah, but I think you make an important point there to me, which is that like, I think people are kind of okay with it because they consider Ding to be like the rightful heir to the candidate spot. They feel like he should just get it anyway, and that's why people aren't. But if someone who was like outside the top 10 just started like racking up wins, then people would be like up in arms about it.
Then suddenly they would say, what's this system? Topalov hasn't played in a year. What are these tournaments in Bulgaria that he just went like 30-0 in?
Yeah.
Or another interesting thought experiment is, let's say Aronian had got some of his Armenian bros together and was like, well, guys, I got 30 days. I got 30 days. You guys got to throw me all the games. Here we go.
That was one of the sub questions I had for you guys. How would you feel if Aronian or someone else played 20 games against their compatriots this month and passed Ding on rating? Word for word. It's in there in the document.
Well,
yeah.
Like, here's
he
the
may
thing.
have burned the bridges with the Armenians. That's why I wrote compatriots. I don't know if it's Armenians or Americans right now, but
well, like, this just brings me back to my point about how silly it is to have this like weird, convoluted qualifying process when the only thing people really care about is like the top 10 rating list. And if like the top 10 by rating aren't in the candidates, then there's something wrong with the candidates. That's my feeling. That's all. So I don't really blame Ding or anyone else for trying to exploit the system, because to me it's a weird system, especially if it encourages this like rating racing at the end. Then that's very odd, of course.
I mean, there's better and worse versions of it, right? Like, one simple way to deal with the rating race is it could be average rating over the last 12 rating lists or something like that. Then somebody couldn't just suddenly play 30 games and get a rating that's 30 points higher than their normal rating.
Yeah.
And we got to say, in FIDE's defense, like, this thing was obviously like a provision that nobody was reading, because the whole the eventuality of the way we've landed here, no one's expected it to happen.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of, and what are they supposed to do? He had to play the games. Would you not play the games? No, you play the games. Play the games.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with Ding playing. I'm glad that he's playing.
Yeah.
I just think the system is wrong, and I agree, Jesse, it may have been like an afterthought of an afterthought that nobody really expected to come into play or proofread or discuss too much. But if they're going to do something like this, I mean, it would have to be something better in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, I think, why did the rating requirement, there used to be, as I said, 2 spots by rating. And I think that was averaged out by a 12-month.
Probably.
In any case, but maybe part of the argument for getting rid of it was precisely the rating race that we're witnessing here with Ding.
Right. Yeah, because one thing you could do with that rating race, I remember, was if you did well in January or whatever, if you did well at Wake on Zay, then you could lighten your schedule and have that high rating get logged in for March, April, May, several months, and then maybe play some more towards the end of the year. But if you lost points, it wouldn't hurt your year's average as much.
Right, exactly.
So it had its issues as well.
Okay, cool. Are we going to rank these guys?
Let's rank them.
Let's rank them, man. Oh, we're going to fight over here. This is going to be good.
Yeah, this is going to be tough.
All right. Jesse, you're the first column, so you can go first each time if you don't mind, and you can start us off with your 8th place prospective finisher. Who will be the blood that the other sharks feed on?
Oh, is that how we do it? Or I thought we were going to rank each player, or do we start with 8th place?
No, we're starting with 8th place.
Okay, that's fine. All
right, now let me just see this. There's a fancy way. We're going to see my Excel spreadsheet. There it is. Raja's in 8th place, my friends. Mm-hmm. And while you guys are about to do your own 8th place, I just want to say the Raja thing is also a little controversial. Raja has not played. He hasn't played at all in the last couple of years. And let's just recap. In the last candidate cycle, dude decided that COVID was too scary, so he dropped out, and then they were going to let him back. It was like talk of, are we going to let him back in? And FIDE said, no way, bro, you're gone. And then there was a whole stink, and then they were like, okay, Raja, because we feel bad about what we did, we'll let you in for the next time. Now, does he belong here, though? No, the guy hasn't even been playing. Give me a break. So he's going last.
Okay, so guys, if you want an average to display, we're going to have to put numbers in these slots. Yeah. So I was thinking you guys could put an 8 in the Rajabov.
That's correct.
Rank.
Thanks
and then.
I see.
Thanks for that, Kostya. Well fixed.
Yeah, no worries. And hopefully this will make sense to people. So yeah, I mean, I've honestly haven't thought about this guys for more than a couple minutes just while we were talking, but he was also my number 8 pick. So sorry, I just he just hasn't been playing. He didn't play the last one. I don't know. The last time I saw him play OTB, I think he was making like a lot of draws with white. It just wasn't. I don't know. I'm hoping he does better. I'm hoping to see the classic Rajabov.
And something I just want to add, what you see on the left there, that list, is what the current rating list of all the players.
Yeah. So Rajabov is the 7th highest rated of these 8 players currently. These are active ratings. Nakamura at the Grand Prix this past week passed Duda and Rajabov.
And also we got to say, Ding in his furious games against his fellow Chinese people has passed Fallujah.
Yeah.
And he was previously not past Fallujah. So
yeah, he just passed Fallujah and Rapport just passed Nepo. So there's been some shakeup here. And actually somebody pointed out there's 3 inactive players in this tournament, so to speak, right? Ding, Naka, and Rajabov. And the only 2 who've recently played, Naka and Ding, they've just passed people when they came back and played. They haven't shown. You would normally say like, oh, these dudes are going to be rusty. They haven't played for 2 years. Let's rank them lower than their rating. But coming up at the moment.
Okay. You guys want me to go again here? Rank number 7?
Who's coming in 7th?
All right. I'm going to say Naka is coming in 7th. And maybe I'll just speak a little bit to that. No one thought that Naka was going to win this thing. I definitely didn't. Very surprising. And I will say with this ranking of the 7, obviously there's a whole counter narrative of being like, wait a second. Naka has suddenly found his game by taking a break from chess and thereby maybe having the weight of all the expectations that were on him since childhood off him, and now he's just playing for fun, as he likes to put it. Let me tell you something, though. There's going to be nothing fun about this event. This event is going to be a death match, and it's not just going to be some funny, fun in the sun. I wish him the best, but I'm putting him at 7. These other guys have been working hard at it, and he might. I think he and Rajabov are going to get mauled. Basically, that is my prediction.
Okay.
What's going to happen?
Well, I'm putting him 7th, whereas he has a good chance of finishing 8th because Rajabov makes a lot more draws than this guy usually, and here's somebody who's got some weakness as the tournament goes long, and if they take a couple blows. I'm putting Nepo at 7th. Okay. Broken in Dubai. Haven't seen anything from him since. And I think it was a shock that he won the last candidates thing. He really benefited from it being split into 2 shorter tournaments. And this time it's going to get ugly for Nepo in the second half. And he could well end up below Raja.
Wow. Okay. Wow, David, that is really, really harsh. I also have Nepo at 7.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Okay. All right. So I'm going now 6th, and I'm gonna say Nepo is 6th. So also, I guess, it's an interesting thing. Like, let me just say, I was very surprised in the last candidates tournament that Nepo came out on top. Could he make a surprise this time around? Possible. It's definitely possible. And I want to say whereas I can't imagine Nakamura or Rajabov winning this event. I can imagine everyone else. And now I have clear favorites, but as just realm of possibility, I could imagine Nepo winning it, but still he's number 6 for me here.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree that even though I put him 7th, he has some small chance of winning the whole event. But he also might have the highest chance of anyone of finishing 8th because he can really put together several losses in a row. He doesn't do that stabilizing draw thing that a lot of top players like to do, where you try and force a draw with white just to just to get on the board. Anyway, my 6th place candidate is young Krzysztof Duda of Poland, ready for the likes of the top 3 here. The 2800 club is waiting for him, but he's not there yet.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, this is fun. I'm liking this.
I put Naka at number 6, just because I'm kind of with Jesse. I feel like it's going to be like a long tournament. He might end up doing really well, but yeah, to me, it just seems less likely than all the other candidates. Also, I think it's very funny how everyone is just like, oh, he's just like a streamer. I mean, he used to be like really good. I mean, he definitely could still, like, he could even win the whole thing if he showed up in fantastic form. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah, I mean, he's outpaced some really good players in these Grand Prix. It wasn't, Ding Firouzja Caruana, but it was pretty good. It was a pretty high level, some of the people he was playing against, and the quality of his play was super high. So you guys will see I have him even one spot higher than you.
Okay.
Okay, Jesse, right. Number 5 spot.
Number 5, right. So let me just say, I was inclined, let's say a month or so ago, to say that Duda was the dark horse, and I would have put him at 4. I'm putting him though at 5 because I think the recent play of Rapport has been inspiring, and I think like Rapport's always been this very interesting player who clearly can play certain positions, as good as anybody. But when I'm talking about, let's call them dynamic, hair-bending, mind-bending positions, Rapport's always been able to play well, but he's really shown with this last cycle that he can, take it game after game, bring it game after game. So I think Duda and Rapport are still my dark horses, but I'm going to give Rapport the slight edge, so that's why Duda is number 5. I do really feel that in the last couple of years, Duda has made good progress. He's 23, and so I think he's got space for growth. Now, our good friend at Chess Numbers is going to basically, for the most part, use, in his statistical prediction, he's going to use ratings. And the interesting thing about using ratings is Duda at 2750, once you put that into the calculator, no, Duda is not going to be having nearly any kind of reasonable chance. So there it is. And because Duda is, as we see, 2750 at the moment, Radjabov 2753, though Radjabov hasn't played in forever. And that rating, by the way, really still goes back to the time, before the last candidate tournament, he hasn't really played any serious events since. Okay, so there it is. Do it at 5.
Yeah, as far as the ratings, I will say the highest rated player versus the lowest rated player, depending on whether or not you count Ding's 10 Chinese points that he just gained, the spread is somewhere between 50 and 60 points total over the 8 players, right? Yeah. So I think that if you do it on pure rating percentages, what Chess Numbers will show is that it's very stable who's ahead and who's behind, but that no one's going to be a dramatic favorite. It's going to be like a couple percent for each player.
Well, but remember, this is going to be a double round robin, and I think when you run the numbers, remember one of the great things that Chess Numbers showed with the Carlsen Nepo match is at that point I think it was like 50-60 points between the two. At 50-60 points, you're almost out of luck, buddy. You're almost out of luck. It doesn't seem like that big of a gap, but the longer you play, the longer the match, the more that 50 or 60 points plays into it.
I agree, but I think basically, like if you're talking the difference between 2790 and 2780, a 10-point difference, for example, it's going to take it's going to take something like 15 or 20 games for you to on average finish 1 point ahead of the other player. So it's not like you finish way ahead of them, right? With a match, the percentage is 90+% for Magnus against Nepo, but the average score is not that he wins by 6 points. You know, he only needs to win by 3 points. So.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Number five. Nakamura. I almost want to put him higher because the quality of his play at these Grand Prix has been super high. And it wasn't just, 4 games or 6 games. At this point, he's played, let's say 12, 16, 18 games, I think, of classical chess. And of course, his rapid looked good as well in the tie breaks. So, yeah, I think he's playing really well. But yeah, that's as high as I can put him.
Well, I think you guys definitely clearly have a focus on the ratings because your bottom 4 are all kind of corresponding to the rating list, which is interesting. I have put Rapport at number 5.
Okay.
Breaking the mold. Because I don't know, I guess I believe in Duda a little bit more. Although I really like Rapport as a player, and I would love to see him do well. I'm really just playing the odds here. I just feel like Duda has slightly better chances. Just my take. I mean, like he did great at the World Cup. I thought he was super impressive there. And I feel like once you beat Magnus, like in a match, like you're just not afraid of anyone anymore, right? So I feel like there's no reason why Duda can't do really well against this field. So
fair enough. And like I said, I that was my sense just like a month ago. So maybe I have recency bias there too. I could be a victim of my own recency bias. Okay, so with that said, I'm close with you, and Rapport is number 4 for me.
Gotcha.
Okay. Number 4 for me, Caruana.
Holy moly.
Wow.
He's pretty good. He has a good chance to finish in the top 4. He could even win the tournament, but probably not.
Very interesting.
Time to get past.
I have Duda at 4.
Yeah.
So I believe in him, but not that much. Like number 4, I think solid, but could be higher.
Okay, now it gets interesting. Let me just say that to my mind, like there's a big difference between the level of the next 3 and the rest. And the way to me that's visible is Caruana and Ding, okay, have been in the top 3 basically for years and years. They've proven that they're on a higher level than the rest. You take somebody like Naka, he's entered the top 10, stayed there for a little bit, got tapped out, not on the same level. Nepo, kind of a similar story, not always even in the top 10. And then, guys like Radjabov touched the top 10, largely were out of it, for most of their career. What was it, 2003, when Radjabov beat Kasparov as a kid? It was like, that was Radjabov's moment. I was like, oh, maybe the kid's got something. And since then, it's never been just nearly on the level. And I want to say, to maintain that kind of top 3 spots as Caruana and Ding have done, I mean, to me, it's like they would have been world champions if it weren't for Magnus, right? Which really shows like the level that Magnus is at. And I've always felt as a fan, especially recently, that Ding should have had a shot. It would have been just interesting for Ding to have a shot. Okay, with all that said, all that fanfare, I am putting Ding at number 3, and mostly I'm driven by...
Wait, Ding or Caruana?
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. That's right. I don't know why I did that. So wait a second. Ding at 3. And that's driven mostly because I don't understand Ding's health. I don't understand what's been going on with his psychology the last couple of years. And maybe most of all, I just believe that you have to be playing on a regular basis. And that's partly just my own experience as a player, right? Like I've taken time off too, and it's not the easiest thing to suddenly go back into it. So that's what's driving me to say Ding is number 3. But I do want to stress, for me, those top 3, if we were going to express it in terms of probability, it's just much higher than the rest. I would say something like, if you take like top 3 versus the rest of the field, something like 80 or 75% that one of those is going to win.
Yeah, right, I mean, that's possible. That's 3 versus 5, right? So they're not tremendously outnumbered. Okay, in third place, I've got the same guy as you, Jesse. Ding Liren. I think so far his games in Hangzhou look pretty good, but I mean, you can't tell from games against someone rated 2570 how you're going to do against someone rated 2770. It's almost like a different game. So it's hard to draw too much from it. At least he'll have some games under his belt. He'll have played at least, right? So that'll be worth something. I think Ding's a fantastic player. And I don't know. I'm giving him a small edge over Caruana. Maybe because Caruana's already been there once. And for Ding, it might be more like this is his best shot at the World Championship right now. Mm-hmm. So maybe he comes super motivated, although it's all mystery to me. But yeah, I mean, he's an incredible player. So look forward to his games.
Well, I also have Ding at number 3. So I guess we agree on that one. But I would love to see him make it. I think seeing a match with Carlsen versus like a full-powered Ding Liren, I think would be amazing. He's also a brilliant King's Indian player. So I just there was someone on Twitter, I couldn't believe it. They were like Ding is not a great player. And then people were like questioning, like, what do you mean? And then they were like, Ding has never played a brilliant game. Show me one brilliant game.
Oh my God, no, that's so.
And people were going insane, like linking them all these like fantastic games. I was just so shocked by that. I couldn't. It was definitely one of the strangest internet takes I've seen. But yeah, I think he's great, and I would love to see a match. But I'm gonna give Firouzja and Caruana slightly better chances on my list.
Right. I want to say, as a fan, I'm a huge fan of Ding and the way he plays. I definitely think he has let's just say Firouzja's in his own category just because he's young, but Ding and Caruana have both made, let's say, contributions to the way the game is played. And we could talk extensively about what those contributions are, but we'll just leave it for now and say that both those guys are on a different level and kind of, coming to close to their last chance. Like Ding is 29, Caruana's 29 as well, right? So it's not like they have that much time left for this really to work out.
Yeah, I'm also 29. Damn.
You got to get that GM title, buddy. Yeah. But if you play one of us GMs, we're not going to go easy on you. No, we're going to be gatekeeping, my friend. All right, number two, this one's kind of hard to me. I'm a huge Caruana fan, but I'm putting Caruana at number 2. And I wonder about Caruana's motivation and if he's been able to successfully improve his game, and be interested, in continuing to have the fire. Because I feel like at this level, one thing that's really impressed me with Carlsen is I think most people, after they reach the top, would not have the fire to keep working at their game. But my sense of it is Carlsen loves the game so much that he's just like, no, man, I'm going to play every chance I get. I'm going to study every chance I get. Whereas most mortals would just be like, oh, dude, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. And so I wonder, I have slight reservations about whether Fabi's got the full all-in commitment that he's going to need to win this event, you know? But in any case, yeah, he's number 2. Fabi's definitely my number 2 right there.
Yeah. I think that, you know, Carlsen's comments about whether or not to defend his title speak to that question of, you know, does he have the energy for it? Does he think it's a lot of work? Does he think it's a drag? I think there's some element to that. I agree with you. Like for most of his career, he's worked really hard. He's enjoyed playing chess. But I think something about the preparation to playing ratio with the World Championship, maybe something in there, he does consider it partly a drag. I mean, it's not just that he made it up for an interview. Okay, so now I'm going to put rapport here for number 2 for myself. I might be a couple months early on rapport, but I think he's already playing 2800 level, which means that he has to be considered to be among equals with the other top 3, Ding, Firouzja, Caruana, Rapport. I think those 4 players are playing at a 2800 level right now. So there you go. I have him edging them out. You know, maybe he improves a little bit more by the time the candidates come around. He's working hard.
David, this is an obscene take. I'm just going to go ahead and say this is an obscene take. If the kid were like, if Rapport were like 19 and we're just jumping on the scene, I could understand the enthusiasm. Okay. Mm-hmm. He's kind of already established at 26. Could he make a little bit of gains? Yeah. But my God, what are we talking about? He's at 27.76. I mean, if you want to put him at 4, I put him at 4. That was controversial on my part. But 2, dog? No.
How much lower would you put him than number 4? He's 4th by rating, Jesse. You think he's overrated?
I'm saying that the top 3 are the established top 3. Okay, so I'm just going to put it there. Putting anybody else in that top 3, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind to think that it's not Ding, Firouzja, and Caruana in the top 3.
All right.
That would be like saying when you rank the best players of all time, it's got to be Fischer, Kasparov, and Carlsen. You can argue about that order, but if you bring some other clown face into that order, you are just lost, my friend.
What about Caruana a couple years ago?
What do you mean a couple years ago?
Caruana a couple years ago was rated higher than Fischer and pretty close to Kasparov.
Caruana, but that was with the inflated new ratings. But okay, Caruana has been there. Let me just say about Caruana, he's been in the top 3 forever, you know? So to say that he's not in the top 3 in this event, it's okay, Dave. We have our passions. I understand.
Hey guys, I think we should save the greatest of all time discussion for maybe another time.
Yeah,
because I would love to get into the
let's do that.
The old debate.
Let's do that one.
All right,
we're gonna
anyway,
fight on
Jesse.
That one too. Yeah.
Jesse, I want you to tell us like what you're going to say or feel when Rapport is over 2800. Are you going to say that I was right?
If he makes it, let me just say,
2800.
Let me just say, first of all, I'm a huge fan of the way he's been playing. You know, not just this last event. I mean, he plays interesting chess, and he plays positions that accept risk in a way that I think is very fascinating. So I'm a huge fan of the guy. It's just 2800 is a totally different club. So will I be surprised? Yes, I will be surprised.
I'll bet you 50-50 he's over 2800 in 15 months.
What does that mean, 50-50?
Just equal odds. If I win, you just have to go on stream and say that I was right.
Okay. And you have to say something like Jesse was right again.
Yeah.
Okay.
15 months. So July 2023.
July 2023, 2800.
Okay, that's good bet. All right. We might
World
spice
champion
it up.
Richard Rapport is already doing like simultaneous.
We might spice it up too with some other this thing that other than just saying The other guy was right.
I mean, look, guys, I like him as well. It's just like, okay, he also has been giving these interviews where he's just like, I hate chess. I wish chess was never invented. I wish I never learned how to play chess. Like, it doesn't bode well necessarily. So, okay. All right. Well, clearly you guys have Firouzja at number 1. I put Firouzja at number 2. And obviously this means I'm going with Fabi at number 1. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, the reason is really, I mean, I would love to see Firouzja win. Obviously, I think that would be an amazing match against Magnus. I think Caruana versus Magnus Part 2 would also be amazing, given they had the experience of the first match. It was a draw after 12 games. Magnus himself said he doesn't consider Fabi like a better or a worse classical player than himself. And so for me, Fabi is honestly the only player in this list that I don't have any questions about. Like Firouzja, okay, might be that he's like too young or too inexperienced. It's his first candidates. It could be kind of a tough time for him. Like, I don't fully know for sure. Again, would love to see him do well. And then everyone else, it's like, yeah, Ding, we're not exactly sure where he's at. Everyone else, like, maybe not just up to that level. But Caruana, like, honestly, no doubts. Like, I feel like he's... I kind of expected him to win the last one. I think he had reasonable chances, but yeah, to me, he still just seems like the most solid top player outside of Magnus. But honestly, the top 3 for me, they're very, very close. As Jesse said, Caruana, Ding, Firouzja. I just feel like anyone outside of those 3 would be, for me, a major surprise.
You hear that, David? You hear that, buddy?
I hear it. You guys each think there's 3 who's close, but respectfully, Kostya, I think to your description of Firouzja as maybe too young, maybe too inexperienced, you should add maybe too good. I think we need a third adjective there.
He's very good.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, he might be too good.
And let me just add, as a Fabi fan, as somebody who's watched him for years, it's got to be said that the guy has suffered, and you see it in the rating. He's been hovering around 2,800. Remember, Fabi was the closest to Magnus of anybody. Yeah. And there was a brief moment in time where he could have snatched even the number 1 spot, right? But now he's fallen to 2,780. That's the lowest he's fallen in a long time. And so there's just a lot of questions around it. And Firouzja, I mean, the kid's 18. At 18, you're just getting better. You're just getting better game after game. And so, yeah, I think you got to put Firouzja first. Does that mean, if I say there's a 75 to 80% chance that the top 3 win, maybe it might even be higher than that. But anyways, I was conservative there. What are we saying? We'd be saying something like, 23% Firouzja, something like that. I mean, it's going to be a brutal tournament. Yeah. Brutal tournament. Yeah.
Jesse, one thing, if you look at Caruana's rating at 2780, you'll see that it's only 4.5 points higher than Richard Rapport's rating at this point, who you deny top tier status here. Yeah. And I bet you the following, you can get chess numbers to supply you with the data. I bet you that if you ask chess numbers, the performance rating of Caruana over the last 12 or 18 months and Rapport over the last 12 or 18 months, you'll find that Rapport's performance rating is going to be higher. In other words, if FIDE ratings had started 18 months ago and they just everybody started from a 0 and played each other, that Rapport would currently be higher rated than Caruana.
Well, I mean, that's obvious in the sense that he has made a big jump.
Yeah.
Recently.
He's gained, 25 points. And Caruana's lost 25 points. So you have to assume that his performance rating is higher than his rating and Caruana's is lower than his rating.
And all I'm saying is like the return to the mean for Caruana. That's, honestly, if we had done this a year ago or even 6 months ago, before Caruana had dropped the points, I would have said Caruana's my top pick here. Yeah, for sure. Like Kostya's doing here. Yeah.
Honestly, for me, Caruana reminds me a little bit of Vichy in 2014. Where, well, actually, not exactly, but a lot of people weren't expecting Vichy to win that Candidates. But then he kind of just walked in and he was like, I don't know, didn't collapse, won a couple of games, just qualified for another match. And I don't know, I feel like once you play at that match with Magnus, it's just like, you can just win any tournament for the rest of your life, right? Like that was already the hardest experience you're ever going to have. So anything else I think is not as bad. And he already won the tournament once, so it's like
Right.
He clearly knows he can do it.
Yeah. He knows he can do it, but Firouza's got other plans, you know?
Firouza's good.
Got to become the youngest world champion.
No, don't worry. I will hail King Firouza when the time is right.
Yeah.
And it's got to be said, like, just in terms of the fan interest, it's just amazing that Carlsen has been like, I want Firouza. It's a beautiful thing too. It's just, as a fan, it's like, normally I would think most humans would be like, I don't want to face the Wonder Kid. You know, I don't want any piece of him. And Carlsen's like, no, this is what I need in my life right now. This is what I need. Yeah. I need to face the kid, you know? So it's like, oh, this is great, man. So I think from a fan's perspective, I think it's also like what we need. I think this too, if someone besides the top three wins, then it's possible. Then we can start thinking about like, oh, maybe Magnus bows out. And that would be terrible for the chess world if Magnus doesn't play the world champ. It would, for me as a fan, it would be cataclysmic. It would really hurt me from a variety of standpoints if he did that. And I would lose a lot of respect for him. But one of the interesting things about him is, you know, he wants the challenge. And so that's just a cool thing. It's just a cool thing. And I can imagine him even being like, Caruana, poo-poo. But Caruana, let's remember, lasted the distance in the classical games against Magnus.
Yeah. All right. Let me say one more thing that Jesse might find controversial or upsetting. Although you did also put Firouza first. But all this talk of the top three and like how close they are, I would actually say Firouza is like peeking out ahead of my second through fourth who are in a group. So I would say there's Firouza, then there's Rapport, Ding, and Caruana, and then there's the rest of the guys.
That's not such an insane take. I feel like Magnus was in a very similar position when he was coming up, where he was just the clear heir to the throne. And
I know the ratings are still like close right now, but I think that Firouza has like a perceptible advantage on the others.
Wait, but we got to say, we can't compare Firouza to where Magnus was. Magnus was already world number one.
Well, he didn't have to compete with Magnus. Firouza would have been world number one if not for Ding, and Magnus.
If not for Xu Xiangyu and Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay, well, this was fun. We're going to come back to this. There's going to be a variety of storylines developing here. And honestly, I'm going to say there's an outside possibility that this gets shaken up again. I think Radjabov, the way he bowed out at the last tournament, it was almost like he wanted not to play. And Magnus and others said that. It felt like that, like he didn't actually want to play. He hasn't been playing. It wouldn't surprise me if Radjabov feels the slightest, if somebody gives him an out, he will take that out. And then we might get another player in this list.
Mm. Yeah, I was thinking that would be funny if Radjabov was like, I cannot play while this injustice, has happened to my good friend Karyakin, or I cannot play while this injustice is happening, in Ukraine. Like, comes up with some reason. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Okay,
well, guys,
cool.
Good list.
Yeah. And let's say, this is almost a dream list. It's incredible. It's funny that, the guys came out of that we've got three sort of people who don't even play in tournaments who showed up and made it into this. Yeah. But they're sick. We're excited to see them play. I think honestly, they're all in great form.
It would be a perfect list if Radjabov was subbed with Aronian. Then I think it would be just like
And I'm not an expert on the regulations, but it would not surprise me if that's what the regulations say. However, Radjabov is officially like the what do they call it? The special pick,
the wild card.
He's officially the wild card. So if he bows out, then I think it's another wild card situation, right? In which case, no one knows who would be put in there.
Wait, let me.
I think Aronian or so. Wesley would be pretty awesome too.
let me recap our official rankings for everyone listening. So we have Faruja at an average ranking of 1.33, Caruana at 2.33, Ding at 3.0, Rapper at 3.67. Then next on our list is Duda with an average score of 5, Naka with an average score of 6, Nepo at 6.67, and Rajava with a score of 8. So those are our average rankings.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see how we do. And yeah, I guess we'll revisit if the list changes somehow.
Yeah. Don't go editing this list, Jesse, after the results come out.
Yeah, after the whole thing's over, we'll flash this on.
I want to hear you say the words Proust was right once in my life. I need it.
Okay.
All right, guys. That's going to do it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will catch you guys next time. Take care.